The journey of K-pop demon hunters, or K-da, is the kind of story that makes you realize how much patience and persistence animation really takes. For Maggie Kang, this was a 7-year labor of love. It all started with a tiny seed of an idea. Kang, a Korean-Canadian storyboard artist who had worked on hits like Shrek, Puss in Boots, and Kung Fu Panda, had long dreamed of bringing Korean culture to a global audience in a fresh, animated way. She wanted something that felt unmistakably Korean, but still spoke to anyone, anywhere. And the concept that stuck? Exorcists and Grim Reapers who secretly moonlight as K-pop idols. The first stage, which Kang calls the long story phase, focused on refining the story, building the world, and fleshing out the characters. This was about making something that really resonated. Early on, Kang knew she wanted to strike a balance between supernatural folklore and modern pop culture. She sketched characters, explored elements like Dokkaebi and traditional Grim Reapers, and even designed the Tiger Duffy and the Magpie Suzy, inspired by Korean folk art. But in these early drafts, the story leaned heavily on demon hunting action, with the music and cultural details taking a backseat. So, why 7 years? Part of it was just the nature of creative work. Kang and her team went through countless iterations, tweaking every story beat, character moment, and cultural reference. But it wasn't only about finding the perfect story. It was also about figuring out how to take such a culturally specific and ambitious idea and make it appeal to a global audience. On top of that, they had to learn how to pitch this vision to studios that weren't used to seeing fully Asian-led projects in mainstream animation. Over those 7 years, the idea grew and evolved. The characters got richer, the world got deeper, and the story found the perfect mix of action, heart, and culture. By the time production officially started, everything had been carefully honed. The film wasn't rushed. It had been sculpted slowly, deliberately, and with immense care. One of the biggest turning points in those 7 years was the creative pivot. Shifting from a story that was all about demon hunting to one that was all about K-pop and music. Early drafts focused on HuntRix and the Saja Boys battling demons, with K-pop thrown in as a side note. The story worked, sure, but it wasn't giving audiences the full cultural punch Maggie Kang was aiming for. That's when the big twist happened. The team realized that to make the film stand out globally and feel truly authentic, music couldn't just be a background thing. It had to drive the story. Songs weren't just fun interruptions anymore. They became the backbone of the film. Song-first planning became their mantra. Each track had to stand on its own, telling a story and hooking listeners even outside the movie. Kang and her team worked through countless revisions to nail the emotional highs and challenging notes, making sure it hit audiences the way a real K-pop song would. The music of HuntRix and the Saja Boys was inspired by actual K-pop groups. HuntRix pulled from ITZY, BLACKPINK, and TWICE, while the Saja Boys leaned into vibes from BTS and Stray Kids. This gave the film a living, breathing connection to the current K-pop scene, making it feel fresh, modern, and authentic. This shift completely changed how the story worked. Suddenly, choreography, music, and plot were all intertwined. Lumi's struggle with shame is a great example. Her internal conflict isn't just told in dialogue, it explodes in music and visuals, with her demonic markings showing up at the peak of a song. Once the team committed to the K-pop first approach, the way they worked had to change too. Traditional animation workflows just weren't built for a film where music, dance, and story are inseparable. That's where song-first storyboarding, beat maps, and frame-accurate synchronization came in. Song-first storyboarding flipped the process on its head. Instead of animating scenes first and adding music later, the team started by mapping out the songs. Every dance step, every lyric, every little beat had to line up perfectly with the storyboard. Music editor Oren Jacobi was key here, basically reverse engineering the tracks frame by frame so that every move in the animation hit the music spot on. This was precise down to the frame choreography. Fights, magical effects, K-pop dance moves. Everything had to match the rhythm exactly. Beat maps took that precision even further. Animators could see exactly where jumps, spins, gestures, and emotional beats should land. Frame-accurate syncing between music, movement, and action became non-negotiable. Directors called it torturous, but they also said it was transformative. Sure, it added layers of complexity, but it also made the musical numbers feel fully alive. Each song became a storytelling device, driving character growth, emotional beats, and even world building. This approach carried over into editing, too. Picture editor Nathan Schauf and Jacobi worked closely to make sure every shot matched both the storyboard and the song's beat. That meant subtle gestures, background animations, and even magical effects reinforced the music's rhythm. The payoff was huge. When audiences watched K-pop Demon Hunters, many cited the musical sequences as the standout moments. The songs didn't just feel like music videos dropped into a movie, they were part of the story, syncing with every punch, spin, and emotional moment. That hypnotic energy, created through painstaking frame-by-frame work, helped the film feel unique and immersive, giving viewers a K-pop experience that was as cinematic as it was musical. While Maggie Kang and her team were deep in the creative grind, there were plenty of logistical puzzles happening behind the scenes. Kang first pitched K-pop Demon Hunters to Sony Pictures Animation, but the studio had some hesitations. It wasn't that they didn't like the idea, it was more about risk. Could a fully Asian-led cast and a K-pop-driven story really connect with a global audience? Instead of backing down, Kang and co-director Chris Applehands took the project to Netflix, armed with a fully developed pitch that included demo songs, storyboard scenes, and animatics. Netflix immediately saw the potential. They jumped on board with funding, while Sony continued to handle creative development and animation. This setup gave the project a sweet spot. Sony could focus on the story and visuals without compromise, and Netflix could provide the global platform to make sure the movie reached audiences everywhere. The deal was hefty but strategic. $100 million for the film itself, plus $25 million upfront from Netflix to kick things off. Complex? Sure, but it ended up giving the movie both creative freedom and instant worldwide reach. Once the deal was locked, the rollout became the next big challenge. Despite 7 years of careful planning and production, the public saw KDH's success as almost overnight. The movie shattered Netflix records, racking up 236 million views globally, topping charts in multiple countries, and even adding a theatrical twist, a 2-day sing-along event that grossed $18 to $19 million. That mix of streaming dominance and limited theater runs made it feel like a sudden sensation. But insiders knew the truth. This was anything but instant. Every song, dance sequence, and visual gag had been honed over the years. Every storyboard and frame had been refined to perfection. The overnight hit label didn't capture the persistence, iteration, and careful cultivation that had gone into the project. Now that K-pop Demon Hunters has cemented itself as a global hit, everyone's talking about what comes next. Netflix and Sony are reportedly exploring a sequel, and the possibilities are exciting. Fans can expect deeper dives into the backstories of HuntRix members like Zoe and Mira, along with more exploration of the film's unique world. There's even talk of incorporating additional Korean music genres, like trot, which could add a fresh layer of cultural depth and musical diversity. And Maggie Kang is expected to return at the helm, bringing the same mix of cultural authenticity, careful story crafting, and musical precision that made the first film a standout. But the legacy of K-Da goes beyond streaming numbers or Billboard hits. Sure, the movie racked up hundreds of millions of views worldwide and gave audiences tracks they can't stop replaying, but its impact runs deeper. It shows how culturally specific stories, when handled with care and creativity, can resonate with audiences everywhere. K-Da was Maggie Kang's statement. Authentic, well-crafted stories matter. Her 7-year journey proves that creativity and precision can break barriers. Now, as fans eagerly await the next chapter, the film's influence is clear, inspiring both audiences and creators with its heart, vision, and cultural authenticity. Thanks for watching Collider. See you next time.